Now, Amnesty International has condemned the planned mass trial of hundreds of protesters arrested during the nationwide #EndBadGovernance protest held between August 1st to 10th, 2024. Now, a statement issued by the country director of Amnesty International Nigeria, Isa Sanusi, criticized the Nigerian government's handling of the situation, accusing the government of unrelenting efforts to demonize protests. Similarly, the Coalition of Democratic Accountability and Electoral Reform, CODA, described the detention of protesters as a blatant violation of their fundamental human rights and a clear attempt to silence dissenting voices. The national chairman of CODA, Chief Peter Amir, urged the administration to address the systemic issues that led to their protest, including corruption, inequality, and social injustice. To discuss this, we're now joined by legal practitioner and public affairs analyst Taiwo Ojumu. Thank you so much, Taiwo, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
All right, Taiwo, we would like to hear your thoughts on the trial of the 10 EndBadGovernance protesters who were charged for crimes like treason, conspiring to destabilize the country, intimidating the president. What would you make of those charges?
Yes, first and foremost, I must say that this development is a very sad one for democracy. It's also a very sad one for civilian government because these are some of the things, suppression, repression, silencing, dissenting voices are some of the features that characterize the military government. And that's exactly why many people do not like, that's why military governments are never popular because of instances like this. But this happening in a democratic society, in a civilian government, is something that calls for serious attention. But then again, I've always advocated that. I've always emphasized that there's a thin line between peaceful protests and the commission of crime, and that's why I always say that there's a need for some of us and people generally, and especially the media, to educate prospective protesters on where to draw the line when you have when you want to embark on protests. For instance, now, if you look through the charges against this gentleman, the first thing is that I understand that it didn't even happen in the course of the protest. These charges were events that took place between the 1st of July and 4th of July, from what we saw in the charges. If those allegations are true, I don't know the veracity or otherwise of those allegations, but if they are true, they are definitely very serious ones. Because saying that, alleging that these guys conspired with a foreigner to take over government is not a protest. That is something else. Like I said again, there's a need for the media and some elites in Nigeria to educate prospective protesters on what constitutes a crime. On the thin line there is this between peaceful protest and crime like treason and mutiny.
So, talking about the thin line, I want to believe that there are specific elements that must be proven under the applicable jurisdiction's definition of treason, because it feels as though we're just throwing the word around. And you said something about it being a sad one for the democracy of the country. So, what are these elements that need to be put into consideration before an action is considered treason?
Yes, like I was saying earlier, we do not know we do not know the gravity of the evidences the federal government has against these 10 persons. But some of the elements that constitute treason will be that the accused person actually sat and conspired or did something in betrayal of the government, or something that suggested that there's a plan, an attempt, or the commission of such crime to actually topple a government, a democratically elected government, or selling, something like selling. If it can be established that these guys actually sold information, revealed government information with the end aim of trying to topple a government that was democratically elected, then those are some of the elements of treason. And then I also understand that in the course of the protest, that some of these guys shouted that the military should come and take over. Inviting the military to come and take over a democratically elected government is also a very serious crime, which falls under mutiny. I think that should be section 69 of the penal code. Now, the thing is, these elements have not been proven because the case just they were just arraigned yesterday, and so the proceeding days will reveal some of these elements. We do not know exactly the gravity of what the government has against these guys, but unless and until these elements are established and there's a nexus between the commission of this crime and the accused persons, that is when the court can now safely say that these guys have committed a crime. Unless and until that happens, it remains merely an allegation.
Right. Very quickly, I want to give you a hint of what people are saying on the streets. Now, this is the breakdown. Protesters are arrested and tagged and charged with treason. Apprehended terrorists are rehabilitated. Bandits are negotiated with. What do you make of that?
Like I said, that's why I began my statement with my opening remark with saying that it's a very sad development for democracy and civilian government. It shows some level of hypocrisy, and this exactly is what we've been saying. That for instance, now if ideally if citizens of a country have been seen or have been accused of committing a crime, people should actually give the government some level of doubt. I mean, reasonable some level of confidence. But the fact that the same government in one breath will pardon and rehabilitate hardened criminals, the same government will not turn around the next day and then accuse people who are only asking for their right, asking for what the guys are asking for are not things that are too much. They're asking for good governance. They're asking for better, for monetary and fiscal policies. These are not too big things to ask. In a very high society, these are things that come naturally. These things go without saying. So it is the hypocrisy of the government sometimes that makes these issues such a big deal that they are, because you cannot in one breath be pardoning those who have been accused, who have been established to be hardened criminals on one breath, and then in the other breath you are now making a big case out of those who went out peacefully protesting. Like I said again, we do not know the gravity of the evidence the government has against these guys, but I think that like I've said it here before, that if they could get very, 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 lawyers, human rights activists and lawyers who have track records of honesty and lawyers who know their onions, I think this case is going to be a walk in the park for the accused persons.
Right. Legal practitioner and public affairs analyst Taiwo Ojumu, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your thoughts on this. And of course, we'll be looking forward to seeing how it unfolds.
All right. Thank you very much for having me.